breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Breaking Bread Village. I have a special guest today. It's an author. He is an author, I should say, not is. He's an author of a book coming out soon, and we're going to talk about that. But I'm going to let him introduce himself because I always think these people can introduce themselves a lot better than I can. So let me bring him on right now. But welcome, everybody, back. I appreciate you guys.
Boom.
Hey, welcome. Hey, Anthony. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll get started. But welcome.
Thank you so much. I will introduce myself. Before I do that, Miss Erin, I want to say, one, you look beautiful this evening.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. And two, I want to say thank you so much, seriously, for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity, not only to talk about my book, but to engage in dialogue with smart and intentional people like yourself. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So yeah, my name is Anthony. Yeah, my name is Anthony, and I wrote a book, and here it comes. So get ready, world.
Yes. Congratulations on that. I just really was intrigued by your story. Of course, a mutual friend of ours gave me your name and just kind of said, this friend of mine wrote a book. He's a positive guy. And I'm like, okay, let's bring him on to talk about this because, for one, in today's society right now, in this world today, we don't have a lot of good stories. I mean, it seems like left and right, all you see is negativity,
right.
Yes, and division and it's just nastiness. So I wanted to highlight some good stories, and especially about fathers, because a lot of times you don't see a lot of positive stories about fathers. So I really want to talk about that as well. So let's just get started. So Anthony, I want to know, just kind of tell me about your background, your coming up, because from what I understand, you broke a lot of generational curses. But before we get there, I want you to kind of highlight what got you there, what got you to that point of saying, you know what, I need something different in my life and for the life of my children. So go ahead and tell me about your upbringing.
Yes, ma'am. And that's exactly what the book is about. We'll cover it a lot in this conversation, but to give my answer to your question, the proper preface, I'm going to say that the book is called First Generation Father: How to Build a Healthy and Happy Home When You Come from a Broken One.
Sure.
And I think it's such an important message in today's world. Even just that short statement that you said, we can unpack that thing for an hour about the complexities of fathers, especially in homes of color, and our importance, and the whole long process by which the challenges that we faced and the ways that we've been undercut and undermined in society and all those things. We could have a long conversation about that. But sure. The short answer is, I feel it's important. One, let me stop and say this. I feel like Black men and people of color in general are often put in this light that we're negligent fathers and that we are, we abandon our families and all this. I want to say, first and foremost, there are a ton of responsible, fantastic fathers and husbands and leaders out there. So
my husband is one. Yes.
There's a ton of us out there. So let's not misunderstand the point of this book. I'm by no means trying to throw our people under the bus. What I am trying to do, though, is help all people elevate the way they raise their family. And that starts with personal growth.
Yeah.
So I come from a background that is pretty messy. My mom and dad were never married. My mother got pregnant in high school, dropped out. My father was done with school. He didn't graduate. He was just done. So already statistically, if you come from a home where neither parent graduated high school, odds are slim that you're going to really amount to much.
Sure.
My father went on to have 7 children with 5 different women.
Oh,
You know, he liked the ladies.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Hey, I'm sure a lot of people out there understand that type of thing. I have siblings. I had a brother that I didn't meet till I was in my early teens, you know. So there is a lot of that happens out there too. And ultimately, it becomes really easy to fall into perpetuate those same cycles yourself.
Sure.
And a lot of times we end up subconsciously adopting the trauma that we see around us and the dysfunction that we see around us. We end up adopting it as our normal, right?
Yeah.
Even though we know it's not right, we don't know how to do better.
Well, because you don't see anything else, right? So it is normal. So it's just like, you know, yeah.
How would you know?
Right.
And so many of us fall into the trap of, we say we want to do better, and society tells us, if you come from that type of trauma and you come from that type of dysfunction, do better for your own family. But how?
Yeah.
How do you do better? Wanting to do it isn't enough if you don't have the tools and techniques and understanding to do it.
Yeah.
If I put a calculus problem in front of you, it doesn't matter how bad you want to solve it. If you don't know the steps and the process to take, you ain't gonna solve it.
Oh, and I'm terrible at math. So yes, that's the best analogy. Yes.
So this book is that. It really is about personal growth, and it's about understanding. It's not an autobiography. I do use a lot of my story just to relate to the reader, but it's really about helping the reader, one, understand himself, two, really consciously choose to create the family environment that he wants, instead of subconsciously acting out the trauma and drama that they saw growing up themselves.
Okay. So give us a few like specifics, some examples of things that happened to you in your life growing up. Because of course, like you said, not having a single parent. I mean, because I can say this, that I was that. And that, I didn't have a father, but then also, when my children were here, it was me raising them mostly. So with that said, they were already seen as a statistic. I mean, that's just, and being, of course, boys who were people, of color, Black boys, people saw that as a certain statistic, and that they would have a certain outcome. So people, and I like to say, because I've worked with families, a lot of different families, and these problems are across the board, but for some reason they are always zeroed in on minority families. And it's just so interesting to me, because I've seen quote unquote dysfunction across the board. I've seen, white men with several children from different people, not present, alcoholic, drug. I mean, I've seen it all. So I just always find that narrative very interesting, that people use that against us. So often, so I don't get it. But anyway, I want you to tell me a little bit, in our, the listeners, kind of what are some examples of things you went through in your life, and then how did those hardships lead you into certain paths or down certain paths in your life?
Absolutely. Fantastic question. You're 100% right. And I say in the introduction of this book that this book isn't divided by racial lines at all. Just exactly like you talked about. The term broken can mean a lot of different things, especially when you're talking about families. And it's not, broken homes, they don't care about race. They don't care about religion. They don't care about your financial status, divorce and abuse and drugs and alcohol tear apart families of all types. So you're
and wealth, and wealth, status, all of that stuff too can cause a lot of brokenness and dysfunction. I've seen that too. So go ahead.
No, you're 100% right. And actually, not to jump ahead, but the whole premise of this book is learning how to balance yourself in what I call these 3 primal energies.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
So not to jump ahead, but balancing yourself in these 3 primal energies is what allows you to get in what I call this special balanced area called the golden zone. I'm saying this to get to your point. Not only can it help you heal from trauma, and heal from abuse, but it can also keep you balanced in the face of success, because success has its own challenges. Wealth has its own challenges. Status has its own challenges, right?
Yeah.
So the challenges to your family, the challenges to the balance and well-being of your family aren't just negative. They're also positive. There's a lot of times families are okay, and then they get an influx of success, and then everything goes off the rails, right?
Yeah.
So anything that can potentially pull you out of balance, you need to check that, and we'll get more into that later.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Your examples. No, that's okay. Examples of things that happened to you when you were younger. Just to kind of paint a picture of your upbringing.
Sure. Well, once again, to reiterate to the listeners, I want to make sure they understand that they're not, if they get this book, which is available now at anthonyblankenship.com, it's not just about me. I do tell stories about my personal life they're really my credibility, because my credibility is I come from trauma. I come from dysfunction. I come from a background where I should be unsuccessful in life. But my wife and I have been married now almost 20 years. We have 2 healthy and happy children. And to start here and get there was a process. And I figured out how to explain that process in a manageable way that will allow other readers to do what's critically important, which is take that process for themselves.
Sure.
We talked about society and how everything in society is so negative. And I agree with that 100%. We're fighting a battle on 2 fronts, because, not to get too far off topic, but there's a lot of injustice in society. There's a lot of there are a lot of elements of society that need change. So we're fighting that battle. And it's easier almost to look outside, to look externally, to look at society and say, this is wrong and that's wrong and this should change and that should change. And those points may be true, but we also can't forget to fight on the other front, which is managing our homes, because that's the thing that we can really control. So oftentimes people, they don't want to look at what you can really affect. They want to look at the world should be different this way. Well, it should, but you can't change the world today. You can change what's happening in your home and in yourself today, or you can start, because it's a process.
Sure. Yep. Very true.
So I will answer your question. I just wanted people to understand that if they get this book, they're not going to hear a whole bunch of all these bad things that happened to me, because it's not about that. But since you're eager to get into my trauma.
No. I think that I think for anybody, even for myself, when you are teaching about something or you're telling someone to do something, it comes from someplace. And as you said, about, integrity and being credible, people want to know, okay, when you say, I'm a first generational father, how did you do that? Where did you come from? How were you not in a certain space? And then you put yourself into a space, and again, this is like I told you before, we got on here, whatever you feel comfortable with sharing, you can share. If you don't want to share, you don't have to share. And I'm okay. I'm really, truly okay with that. So
absolutely. And like I told you, it's all out there, sis. I'm joking around. We're gonna get to it. I'm not trying to pull any punches. It's important to me. It's important to me that, as it was important to me while I was writing this book, to keep the reader in mind. And one of the things that I heard over and over from different people who have written books and mentors that I talked to, one of the things that they reiterated to me was that people don't care about you, meaning me. They don't care about me. They care about how they can help themselves. People care about, when they get this book, they only want to know as much about me they need to know to believe what I'm telling them, because they really just want to know how they can help themselves and help their families. So I'm so different.
I love knowing,
but you're a special soul though.
I love knowing what happened to people to mold them and kind of cultivate them because that's such a powerful part of it. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Like the journey, the steps, so I find all that fast, because I am a person that I have shelves and shelves of books about people's lives, and and then how they overcame what they went through. Because I don't know, I find it beautiful. So
You know what? I'm like you. I'm like you. So yeah, let's talk about it. So, like I said, my first of all, I'm biracial. So you want to talk about trauma? I was born in Ohio, 1977.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Biracial children are born into a tough world today, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was the Midwest in the 70s.
Yeah.
I was immediately disowned by my mother's side of the family. My mother is white. I was immediately disowned. She was put out.
Oh.
My grandfather was a very proud, very white man. He was born in Tennessee.
Okay.
He had very little formal education, but he had strong principles about what he thought was right, and he didn't think that mixed children were right. So he didn't see me for the first several years of my life. That's really only significant to the story because she was living at home. She was in high school.
Oh.
So
yeah.
He put her out. He put me out. So now we're really kind of in a dangerous environment. My father he had drug issues. He had his own demons that he was fighting. So
Sure.
it really wasn't safe anywhere for us. They had physical violence in their relationship. He beat her multiple times. And this is all in the book. I'm not telling you anything that you won't read about.
Sure.
At one point, he beat her so bad while she was pregnant with me that she thought that I would die in her belly. She was hospitalized. Obviously, I ended up making it out. But when I was born, there was no place for us to go. She did what she felt she had to do. She put me in foster care.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, we literally had nowhere to go. Like I say in the book, I hadn't even been born yet. I'm disowned by one side of my family, getting my butt kicked by the other. You know, it was it was a rocky start to life.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But she had a certain amount of time to come and get me back before I became a permanent ward of the state. And
right.
she snuck in there at the buzzer and got me. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
But as you could imagine, life was rough up to that point and was only going to get rougher. So over the next 12, 13, 14, 15 years, there was a lot of trauma of different types and different physical confrontations and, you know, poverty and all that stuff. And it's all in the book. And it was very hard for her. For me, I saw my father on and off in that time. There were a couple really significant incidents of violence in that time. One where he put a lit match out on my face. I describe it in great detail early in the book.
Okay.
Chapter 1 is called Scars.
Okay.
Another time when I was about 12 years old, when I was really starting to figure out that the world was kind of demanding me to be a way that I didn't want to be. I was a gentle kid. I was studious. I wanted to do well in school and be a lawyer. But, you know, when you grow up in a certain the environment plays such a critical part in anything you're able to accomplish. And my environment was making me, it was calling for me to fight, even though I wasn't a fighter.
Right.
So when I decided to fight a little bit, and I talk about this story in the book, I had an incident where I was at my dad's. He wasn't there. I was talking to who was a woman who was his wife at the time. And I was tired of, you know, being a meek kid. And I was just like, yo, he's a bad person and he's a bad father. And here's why. And I just laid out this incredibly detailed argument, this articulate argument. And she just listened and let me talk. And I had seen and heard him beat her so many times that I assumed that she would be on my side. And I took her silence as she was, you know, agreeing and supporting, you know, the things we learn, the life lessons we learn. So it didn't end up going that way. And she explained everything to him. And he took that opportunity, as I say in the book, he took that opportunity to, when he heard about our conversation, he took that opportunity to really degrade me, strip me all the way down, and beat me with the doubled over extension cord.
Oh.
To the point where when I ended up going back home, the police were involved, and then the police came and did a whole investigation. They made me strip and take pictures. You know, it's a whole, like, it's a really traumatic event in a person's life, especially a young boy on the cusp of trying to figure out how to become a man and all that jazz. So events like that, I was emotionally unprepared to handle them. Right. So they had piled up. And by the time we're getting to the point on how I decided to turn my life around. So fortunately for me, it may sound crazy that I say fortunately, but fortunately, I had, by the time I turned 15, I had so much anger and so many emotions in myself that I didn't understand, that I lashed out against the world in a way that got me arrested and got me in serious legal trouble. So to bring that back to the reader, the way that I explain this in the book is, if you don't understand, and for men, this is important because a lot of times it's not really, society doesn't create a safe place for men to really evaluate our feelings and our emotions and what's driving us. So we put on this facade and we put on this front, right? Like nothing bothers us. The problem with that, the reason that's incredibly dangerous, especially to your family, is if you're not aware of what's really happening within you, you're not aware of what's driving your actions. You end up doing stuff and behaving in a way, and you really don't even understand why you're doing what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you can't lead a healthy and happy family that way. So a lot of times people, they, you know, there's so many ways that people subconsciously sabotage good things in their life when they come from environments like we do, because we're more comfortable with drama and dysfunction and lack and poverty. So we subconsciously submarine anything good in our lives. And before you blow your family up, you need to figure these things out. A lot of men figure these things out and understand themselves after the drama, after the damage is done. Like, so to bring this thing full circle with my father, we're good now. And I talk all about it in the book. Chapter 14 is forgiveness. And I talk about the importance of forgiveness. And I think explain it. They can read that in the book.
They can get the book and get the rest of it.
That's right. But my point is, he and I are good. And I realize now that he was just incredibly off balance himself. So so throughout the book, when I talk about these three primal energies, he was in the danger zone on all three. And so that's why this book is so critical to people, because a lot of us are in that same situation. And when you're off balance, it's just a matter of time until you hurt your family or you hurt yourself. You just can't lead your family in a positive way when you're off balance.
Right. So of course, I mean, which a lot of people don't understand in regards to built up trauma, built up pain, built up silence, built up. I mean, there's so many things, but people don't understand that. So when you are forced, because you were forced to be in a situation that you did not choose for yourself, which is, very typical and very, I mean, it happens a lot of a lot of different families where these children are in different situations that they didn't choose. So this happens, and people don't understand when that explosion takes place. All they see is the explosion, right? They don't understand what happened to, get you there, right? So you hear people say, well, they're doing this or this person's doing. It's like, well, you didn't see the years of trauma. And that's why I try to have empathy for people, because you just don't know a person's walk. You don't understand which led them to, killing a person or, robbing a person or, sometimes people don't understand. A lot of people don't rob just for sport. People do it out of need. So you had that breaking point. You had that point in your life where it was like, you were basically at a crossroads, it sounds like, where you had to decide, okay, where am I going in life? What am I doing with my life? I am becoming, and this is what I tell my 4 sons all the time, that you do not want to become what people said you were going to become. You get what I'm saying? You have to decide something different. So you were at that point in your life. Tell me about that and how you chose to go left and not right, or right and left, whatever.
Yeah, you make so many great points. It's a shame that we only have an hour, because we could talk about this thing for
This is a rabbit hole, man. I tell you.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points, but I'm going to try to stay on track. To get back to the point about repressed emotions and unhealed, unfaced pain.
Sure.
I said that I was lucky. And the reason that I say that is because I was lucky enough to hit my breaking point early in my life. I hit my breaking point at 15. So it's not that I handled it. It's not that I handled it so well. It's that I handled it so poorly, so early. It's that I hit my breaking point at a young age, at 15, because when I did what I did, had I been 16 or 17, my entire life would have gone differently. I could have potentially been charged as an adult. I would have done potentially 10 years in prison, and your record can't get expunged and all that. So what happened to me, what saved me, was that I broke early. So at the age of 15, when I was angry and confused, and I lacked the mental and emotional intelligence to understand what I was feeling.
Yeah.
I couldn't say it because I couldn't even understand it. I couldn't try to solve the problem because I didn't even understand the problem. It was, I was being driven by parts of myself that I couldn't face. I wasn't emotionally mature enough to say, I feel this, right? And so that's a big thing.
Because of this, yeah.
Right. I didn't have the words. So I ended up doing something insane, and people would say, well, why did you do that? I can't even tell you why. And that's exactly what I'm trying to prevent people from doing in their families. People step out on their wives, or they, make insane decisions, and then they don't even understand what's driving them to do that. And that's because they have parts of themselves that they haven't faced. And we have to face all the darkness in us. Yeah. And there is no, I say this in the book several times, and I want to say it here. I am not the perfect father. I'm not the perfect husband. No such perfect person exists. But I am not afraid to look at myself honestly and say, this is where I need work. And I understand that it's a process. It's a process that you have to work toward every day. So don't by any means feel like, well, this dude thinks he's blah, blah, blah.
Oh God, no. If anybody took that from this and they missed the point. They missed it. It went over somebody's head.
That thing gone.
Yeah, none of us are perfect, but you know what? One thing, like I tell people, is I chose every day to be a mother. It's a choice every day, because people don't understand. People always talk about fathers that leave, but mothers can leave. You can choose to be like, you know what? I will go somewhere else. You guys have fun, and I'll see you guys when I see you. We can choose to leave as well. So it's a choice every day to be a good person. It's a choice every day to make the right choices that sit well within your soul. So, none of us are perfect, but we are just choosing to make certain choices to, allow all this stuff to come back to us, right? Everything we put out to come back right. So, it's all a choice. So no. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And one thing I want to say, you're absolutely right. And one thing I want to say, I'm very proud of this fact, actually. The book is very inclusive to women readers because really, outside of the title, it's really just about understanding yourself, learning how to heal from your past trauma, learning how to break generational curses so you can be better within your relationship than you saw as an example growing up, so that you could be better financially, mentally, emotionally, so that you can be better with your children. Breaking generational curses is just as applicable for women as it is for men. There's a lot of first generation mothers out there who like, I want to try to do better than the example that I had. But just like that calculus problem, you need to know how. You need to have tools. And this book does provide those tools. And I'm incredibly privileged to have women read and follow and support. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, awesome. So how did you break the generational curse in your life? How did you decide, which direction to go in your life and to make a different choice?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And so it stems back to that low point, right? It stems back to this night when I was 15 years old and I was in pain, and I didn't know what to do with myself, but I knew that I couldn't live with the way things were going. I had run away before. I had gone from once a good academic student to having a terrible truancy record where I barely went to school and had failing grades and all this stuff. So I came to a breaking point, and I broke, and I did something that it doesn't even seem like it was me, but it was. I took a gun and I went to the local shopping plaza, and I robbed a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I got caught that night. I ran from the police. I describe it in the book.
Yeah.
Ran from the police. I was out in the middle of a field. The cops was chasing me, and the cop said something that I believed fully after we ran, a little while. He said very clearly, "I will shoot you." And I believed him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And although I wanted my life to change, Aaron, I didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
So I stopped, and I got arrested, and I got convicted. Fortunately, I was only 15, so I was convicted as a minor. I got sentenced to a minimum of 1 year in a juvenile prison, several cities away. They said they could hold me until I was 21. And just going through that process was devastating for me. It was devastating for my mother. She was beside herself about the whole thing. It was embarrassing. It was, but it was, I hate to say the wake up call that I needed, because I wasn't a habitually bad person. It was the springboard that I needed to realize nobody's coming to save you. And 2, nobody's responsible for my life but me.
Mm-hmm.
You could have every reason in the world. And when I talk to my brothers or closest friends, I tell them, you could have every reason in the world. These aren't nonsense excuses. These are legitimate reasons. You have every reason in the world to be unsuccessful. Did my mic sound like my mic got a little weird? Is it okay? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you may have every reason in the world to be unsuccessful, but it's still your choice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you come from trauma. It doesn't matter if you got your ass kicked at home. It doesn't matter if one of your parents was on drugs. It don't matter if, as I talked to people about this book, I heard a lot of people opened up to me about a lot of terrible, unspeakable things that happened to them in their lives, oftentimes at the hands of people who were supposed to be caring for them. Mm-hmm. I understand all that, but ultimately it's up to us to decide to make the right decisions in our life. And after that incident in my life, I decided, I'm going to try to do the right thing moving forward. And it's a struggle. It's not a magic thing. And then you go, after that, everything was great. No. Because there's still a lot of things you have to unlearn and then relearn. There's a lot of negative programming that you have to break down and then build back up. And so that was the pivotal event. That was the pivotal event.
And not only the stuff that we have to unlearn and learn, but also the people that are around us that don't sometimes let us change, right? Some people who continue to say, well, no, you're like this. And it's like, no, I'm different. No, you're like this. No, I'm telling you, I'm different. But I first want to say thank you for sharing that, because I always like to thank people for trusting the space.
Yeah, for
that
sure.
information, because it's, even though you write about it wherever, it's still, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you for trusting the space for that. Because this is a non-judgment zone. This is, because listen, I tell people all the time, I've worked with so many children, and I tell all of them, I say, listen, we all have stuff that could have potentially got us in some trouble. Okay, we all have done something or told a lie or done something that, and it just was that we didn't get caught or, we didn't do, so I don't look at this whole thing of like, this person is so bad, this person, we all have stuff, right? And, so thank you for sharing that. And also thank you, because people, like I said, the children that I've worked with and still work with, and even adults, people need to know that we're all human. We all do things, right? We all have done something, that we may not be proud of, just so much stuff. And, when people finally feel safe to say that, that's a part of that healing process. That's a part of that when you can say, wait a minute, I did this. That was me. I did make that choice, but this is where I'm going now. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. So, thank you for that. And, and again, people, it just, and I'm a crier, so I'm surprised I'm not crying yet, because when I work with these kids, some of the stuff that children go through, it just, it boggles my mind, for me having children myself, and again, the parents go through their own trauma. So then they, like, they put it down. So I'm not judging them. It's just this idea, like, you did that to your child. You did that to, so it's just this like, oh my goodness, it's just heartbreaking. And then for the children to be able to say, okay, now I have to, like, especially when they go to school, so you want me to be a student, even though I didn't eat anything for the last couple of days. I'm living in, it's cold, it's wet where I live. My mother may be home. She may not. My daddy didn't come home. All this stuff is going on, but you want me to come here and be a student. So it was always just so hard for me to say, all right, do your work. And it's like, no, talk to me. Let's go out in the hallway and talk, because I need you to just be a person right now. Just be, right? Because it's just, so anyway, you have people going through all that, and then you say function as an adult or function as a child or function as a student. It's like, I don't even know how to function. Like, I'm not, this is not functioning, right? This is, even though I'm walking around and talking, I'm not functioning properly. So I don't know what you want me to do, because I can't. I'm not in that space. So it just breaks my heart when people have to move through life that way, with no direction, no solid, like no place to go, no refuge. It's just hard for me. And I just want to help all of them. And it's like, but I have to keep sending them back to that environment. So it's like, what do you do? I had a girl one time, and I want you to get to, your 3 primal energies. But I just want to tell you, I had a student one time that her father was not in the picture. And then her mother just kept failing her. She was on drugs. She was in and out. She was doing her thing. I truly believe there was some sexual abuse in the home. And, we never got to that, but she alluded to some things. But with that said, I had to finally tell her that you may have to at your age, even though you are a child and you should be mothered and parented, you may have to do this on your own.
You may have to go.
You may have to. You may have to. At this point, you may have to be the person that you depend on.
Right.
How are you going to do that? I can help you get you the tools. I can help get you in the right direction. But at this point, your mother may never be a mother to you, right?
Yeah.
Your father may never be a father. So here's some tools on how to survive through this world until you're old enough to make more decisions for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So, I have a lot of stories, but we won't go down that hole, because it's a lot of stories when it comes to children that have been left on their own. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to commend you for that and tell you how much I appreciate hearing that, and that you did that, and that you're an advocate for these children in that way. A lot of kids don't have an advocate, and they don't have somebody in their corner at all. And if they don't have a teacher, a counselor, a person like you in their life that sees the signs and is paying attention and saying something is wrong with this child, society will in a heartbeat say, no good, the kid's trash, throw them away, they're worthless. It happens. I was that child. I was a child that people gave up on. So I know what it feels, and I'm not talking about my mother. My mother bless her heart, she never did, because
Lord knows she probably wanted to. She might be watching, but she never did. But I mean, a lot of people had, counted me out at a very young age. So I know what it feels like to walk into a room and not feel like anybody has your back. I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about our own stories are what push us and drive us to do what we're doing now, because I'm like, no, if you're in my presence, you're going to feel loved, even if I annoy the heck out of you, because I know I probably drive my kids crazy all the time sometimes, but I'm like, you going to feel loved. If I give you nothing else, you're going to know what it feels like to be loved and appreciated, because it's a lot of kids that, that's with this whole COVID thing. That's one thing that worried me when they were out of school, because with some kids, the school is the only place they get somebody that says, how are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Or make sure they eat. So that was really hard for me, knowing that so many kids are stuck in these environments that don't nurture them, and help them grow. So I want you to talk about how to master, because this subject I can go on forever. I want you to talk about how to master your 3 primal energies, your warrior, intellectual, and spiritual energies. So go ahead.
Great. So, man, first of all, I love your energy. I can't believe this is our first time talking. I think when this is over, we might have to just get off and continue.
Yeah, I might tell my husband we can go down to Texas. That's where most of my family is down there. So we're looking for places to to go once COVID is over. Yeah, me and your wife can meet, and my husband. And yeah.
We'll break bread for real.
Yes. I'm down with that for sure.
Yeah. So to answer your question, if you look at the cover of the book, the readers will see that there are 3 circles. There's a red circle, a blue circle, and a yellow circle. Yeah. So what I learned through years of painstaking, slow progression in my personal growth was that I basically had what I end up calling 3 primal energies. And I saw this thread linking through all people, men and women. And they ended up becoming kind of the premise for this book and the formula for how to break the generational curses that so many of us come from. And to keep it simple, look at you. Look at you.
Look, I'm trying. Look, I'm trying to make sure you get this. But go ahead and keep talking while I'm fiddling around. I need to hire somebody to do this stuff for me.
No, that's fantastic. So yeah.
Keep talking.
I will. So to keep it so to keep it simple, the warrior energy is your ability and desire to fight. Okay. So if you're going to break these generational curses, you have to be willing to fight. It's not going to be easy. It's not all peace and positivity. You're going to have to fight.
Yes.
And a lot of time you're going to have to fight, just like we're fighting on 2 fronts. You're going to have to fight in the world that we're in. You're going to have to fight in society. And a lot of times, this is the biggest fight. You're going to have to fight the smaller parts of yourself. You're going to have to fight fear. You're going to have to fight the lower parts of you that intentionally would sabotage the good things in your life. You're going to have to fight that, and you're going to have to overcome it. Yeah. So your warrior energy is your want and your ability to fight. We all have this innate want to fight, especially as men. The problem is, if we're not conscious of it, we don't have control over it, and we use it in the wrong way. We end up using that want to fight against the people that we're supposed to love and protect. We fight against our women. We fight against our own growth. So instead of fighting against the lower parts of ourselves, we fight against the higher parts of ourselves. We fight against our financial progression, and we put ourselves in these bubbles where we stay with lack because we feel that's
why do we do that? Why do we teach that to each other that you're not supposed to have? Where does that come from? Seriously, where do you think that comes from?
It comes from familiarity. It comes from familiarity.
That fear of that. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
It comes from familiarity, because we go, that's what we're comfortable with. And I talk about in one of the later chapters, ascension, about rising to a higher state of yourself. You said something earlier about how people try to keep you in a particular view They say, oh no, you're here, right?
Yeah.
So part of ascension is understanding that sometimes the people around you, the people that may even love you, sometimes they don't want to see you grow.
They
don't want to see you grow. And they don't want to see you evolve. And there's a lot of layers to that.
People don't want to talk about that.
They don't want to talk about it. There's a lot of layers to that. And one of the reasons that there's a lot of different reasons that could drive that. But oftentimes what happens is when a person is operating from the lower part of themselves, they're threatened by somebody who's trying to evolve. They take that as a personal rejection. Oh, you think you're better than me now? Oh, you think you moving up? Nah, you ain't.
It's internal
right.
struggle.
It's an internal struggle. And so they project their fear and they project their sense of inadequacies onto you. They misrepresent your intentions, and it's not good. But the thing is, we have to evolve anyway. We can't get caught in the trap of saying, nah, I'm a keep it where you have to evolve. And the reason we have to evolve is because our families need us to evolve. Society needs us to evolve.
We need that. We need that our personal self too, right?
Yeah.
Because you can be trapped, right, within yourself. I know. I'll just for myself personally, I've always had a big personality, and sometimes I went through years. Well, I probably didn't last years, but it was a little bit of time some years ago where I kind of minimize myself because I always felt like, okay, I'm just too big for people, like in regards to like my personality, to where it was too much. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Don't do that.
Oh no, I would never do that again. Never. But I did because it was always, oh, you're just, I was either seen as aggressive or too happy. People would actually be like, you're too happy. And I'm like, oh, okay. So so I understand that struggle within. Yeah. So that's why I say, even with ourselves, sometimes not only for our family and for society, but for ourselves, because if you're not whole within, right? Yep. I mean, what good are you to anybody else, including your family,
Absolutely. And that's why all three of these circles tie themselves together. So in the nutshell, that's your warrior energy. Your intellectual energy is your ability to understand and process using logical thought. So what you just did was, so ultimately you see how they all start to connect. You just broke that down from the intellectual perspective, where you're saying, why do we do that? Why are we like that? And you instinctively started to analyze it and break it down. So sure. you instinctively started using your intellectual energy. And that's something that's critical for our personal evolution. It all ties together. So you have to have the ability to fight, but you also have to have the intelligence to analyze a situation and determine where you're going to focus your warrior energy efforts, right? Otherwise you end up fighting against yourself, sabotaging your own family, sabotaging your own progress.
Yeah.
So you have to tie your warrior energy into your intellectual energy, right? But that's only two of the three. The third one is your spiritual energy, and your spiritual energy is critical. It's the counterbalance to the other two. Your spiritual energy is your deep sense of connection. For a lot of us, it's our connection, our feeling of connection to something greater than ourselves. It's our balance. It's our faith. It's our soul. It's our spirit. It's our essence. And so once you learn how to tie those things together, and I explain them in greater detail in the book, once you learn how to tie those three things together, then you can be in the place of balance where you can lead your family from a healthy and happy place where you guys can overcome challenges. You can provide the environment for your children to feel safe emotionally, to grow intellectually, and to also have the heart to understand sometimes I'm going to have to fight. And that doesn't necessarily mean beat people up, but it means to face challenges and to persevere and to show toughness and dedication. You can raise your children in that way, and you can balance your marriage in that. And when you balance your marriage in that, that's how you end up having a relationship that not just lasts, but really thrives and grows.
Yeah. Now, with everything that you were going through, did you bring some of that into a marriage? Because for you being married that long, I mean, were you already kind of I mean, we heal constantly. I'm a believer that we are constantly healing in a state of like evolution and evolving. But did some of that come into, and not trying to get too personal, but did you have to, because what people don't understand is that sometimes we go into different phases of our life with these traumas, right? And then we haven't quite figured out this part, and now we added something else, another dynamic to it, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, I was a mess.
Yeah. Were we all?
I was a mess until about, what time is it? No, of course I was a mess. We were babies when we got married. I was 24, she was 21.
Okay.
And I break this whole thing down in the book too.
Okay.
I don't recommend that anybody do it the way we did, but you're exactly right. We did not get married with this grand understanding that we have now. We were kids.
Yeah.
And so many people, but that's the thing. Life doesn't wait. So many of us, we have our children when we're not ready. Financial stresses start hitting us when we're not ready. Relationships are serious and we're not, like, life don't wait.
No.
You know what I mean? And so no matter where you are in that cycle, this book now can give you the tools to get some grounding under yourself and go, okay, I'm starting to see the game. I'm starting to understand myself, and I can put forward a plan and execute. Right. So that's what this is about.
Yeah.
I'm a former military guy, and I talk about that in the book a little bit too.
Okay. You were in the okay.
Yeah. And the military was a big part of really kind of cementing my belief in integrity and understanding the dynamics of leadership. And so, I talk about in the book, ultimately what I learned through my time in the Army is that healthy leadership is service. It's an attitude of service. It's a spirit. It's a spirit of service to the people who are under your care. When you come from dysfunction, oftentimes people think leadership is, well, I'm in charge and I'm telling people what to do. So right. I'm the leader in my family. So y'all do what I say, right?
They miss it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that just leads to resentment in relationships, and it doesn't work out. So once people understand that leadership is really figuring out, how can I best be of service to my wife? How can I really help my children develop? Your whole attitude changes, and your ability to lead really kind of starts to come up to show. Oh,
yeah. No, I agree with you 100% in regards to that. I mean, in my life, most of what I do, I mean, some things are just simply for me, and that's just called self-care. And it still goes back to this, but I believe that even this right here, what we're doing right now, is service. I mean, how can I be of help to someone else?
Yes,
and sometimes, I believe, like, of course, with conversation, just being transparent is a way of being of service to other people, because it shows them, for one, this is okay. It's okay to talk. For two, this is healthy. And for three, you're not the only one. We all have things. We all have stuff that we're trying to overcome, and we're just taking it one day at a time, one step at a time. So, that is so true that you said that about leadership. People do miss that a lot of times in the world, in job, on jobs, in their families, that it's not about barking orders, so it's a lot deeper than that. So.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, no, that's awesome. So I want you to tell people kind of where they can go. I mean, we had, let's put this back up, your website, of course, and go, but tell them a little bit more about how to order the book, how to get the book. We're talking about this book. People need to know how to get this book.
So anybody who comes across this, I want to, one, thank you for listening. Two, I want to remind you guys to tune in to the Breaking Bread Village early and often. Miss Erin is a fantastic spirit. She's doing beautiful things. I'm honored to be on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly mean that. As far as this book, even before I tell you where to get it, I want to tell you that if you don't get this book, seek out your own personal growth and evolution for the sake of your family. It's critical that we solve this problem. There's so much generational trauma passed down in society. And then we keep wondering why society is fighting the same problems now that it's been fighting for that the generation before that had to fight, and the generation before that had to fight, and the generation before that had to fight. And we could look around and go, man, the world isn't changing. And if it is, it's changing real slow. But like I said earlier, it's easy to look out at the world. When we start to look indoors and inside and in our hearts and in our own real personal evolution, it's not as easy to do. But that's what's really necessary to do, to say, wait a second, let me make sure I don't pass down the same trauma and the same BS to my kids that hurt me. That's going to end up hurting their kids and hurting their kids. Everything connects. And it's important. And it's important that people that face that truth. As far as the book, you could get it at my website, anthonyblankenship.com, BLANKENSHIP.com. And I do want to say something else. I'm incredibly proud of this aspect. Not only have I created this website where people can go and get the book, and people have gotten it already. And thank you. Each copy, especially if you order it from my website, comes signed and made out to you. But I've also created, because not everybody needs this book, but a lot of people support the message. So I've also created at the same website, anthonyblankenship.com, an opportunity for listeners or readers to contribute and donate to readers in need. So if you go to the website, you'll see an opportunity to donate any amount from $1 to however many dollars you want to donate. And every single dollar goes toward getting the book to readers in one of 3 categories: military families, because like I said, I served my time in the military and I understand the importance of a healthy and happy home contributing to soldiers who are more effective and able to focus. I've seen what home life distractions can do to soldiers, and it's devastating. And also a lot of people in the military, unfortunately, come from my type of background. They come from trauma and dysfunction. And just by the nature of our jobs, we don't tend to say when we're hurt or when we're, I talk about it in the book. Over 20 veterans a day commit suicide. We have pain that we are uncomfortable addressing. I break the whole thing down in the book. So if you want to donate to military personnel, you can. If you want to donate to people in prisons or jails, you can. And I have an opportunity where people in prisons and jails can reach out to me. And if a book has already been purchased through donation, then I can get it to them for free. Because a lot of the people who need this information, their life is on fire, basically, right?
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily have maybe even the $20 to get this book. And then the third opportunity that people have to contribute is for families who are in counseling. They're families who they know something's wrong. They're trying to figure it out. If this could be a tool, just one more tool to potentially help somebody come to some understanding. And then if anybody, there's an option where someone can write in whatever they want. And I've had people do that too. I've had somebody write in, they want their donation to go to anti-divorce counseling. Or
I think that's incredible that you have those options. Wow, that's good.
Yeah. So you can buy the book, AnthonyBlankenship.com, First Generation Father, How to Build a Healthy and Happy Home When You Come from a Broken One. Or if you, like, I have a neighbor who's an older woman. She's like, that sounds great, honey. Like, that ship sailed for me. That ain't for me. But here's X amount. I want to make sure that people get a chance to read it. So
I think that's amazing. So tell people it's already out for pre-order, and then explain all that.
Yeah, it's available for pre-order now. The actual release date is October 15th, 10/15/20. So the only difference really between now and then is the audio book drops. So it'll be on Audible, and it'll be on Apple Books, and it'll be on all that jazz. Cool. And the ebook drops then too. But right now, paperback and hardcover copy, which is really, I'm old school. That's kind of all I read anyway. So, it's right there already, AnthonyBlankenship.com. And I promise you, it doesn't matter if you're man, woman, if you have children, if you don't, LGBTQ, it does not matter. If you read this book, you will put it down a better and more evolved person than you were when you picked it up.
No, I believe that. I mean, I think anytime you talk about self-healing, self-reflection, transparency, all of that, I think it's just, it just helps us to be better, period. Yes, we all need to do that all the time. That's a daily thing. I tell people that's a daily thing for me. Every day I reflect on, what I do, what I say, and not in the way of like remorse or regret, but just, okay, let me process this. How was I impactful? Was I purposeful? Did I really need to say? Because I'm learning. I mean, I'm 40 now, and I'm learning that it's okay to just say, okay, and be gone with it. You know what I'm saying? I used to have to have that word, and because I used to be able to tear it up with, but it's like, why? Some things are just not that important anymore. It's not about that. So I appreciate you for being on here. I really do. I really appreciate the fact that because service in that regard is really important to me. So making your book available for people to help make it available for people that are in situations that are hard and can be, like you said, stressful and take a lot out of them, especially like, locked up and stuff, to be able to get that can possibly give them some hope to help with that actual rehabilitation that sometimes our prison systems don't really offer. And, that's a whole nother show because I do want to talk about that.
That's two shows.
I'm looking for people to talk about that are in that system because I want to talk about that because that is something that whole reform thing. I don't know about that. So I want to talk about that. But for you to have that available for them, that's awesome. Of course, military, I was speaking to a couple of police officers and they have that same mindset in regards to that job. When you are trying to be in a certain mindset and you have you going through a divorce at home and then you have to go and be responsible to people, for people, so to speak. And it's a lot. And I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying that's a lot. I mean, let's be real. It's a lot. If you're a doctor and you have to save somebody's life, but you have stuff going on with your child at home, that's a lot. I mean, it's just, we're not always able to compartmentalize things the way we need to. So anyway, I think that's important and beautiful that you're offering that. Again, thank you to your wife for sparing you, giving you up for an hour to let you be here. I appreciate that. And I just commend you and keep doing what you're doing because it just gives people hope. I mean, some people think that once you make a decision in life, a choice in life, that's it, right? And then people, it's never too late. And people will make you believe that thing that you are, that's just it. That's who you are. And even if you show 120% that you changed, people will still hold you to who you used to be. I'm like, I need to just, and that's why I changed my name. People know me as Adira. People know me as Aaron because I had to just change. You know what I'm saying? Let people know this is a new being. This is new. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
Yeah, because people will keep you dead. It's like death.
You are here.
yes. It's like, come on now, come with me, come on with me.
You're 100%. You're 100% right about that. I have family members that have been through the penal system, the adult penal system. My dad did 10 years in a state prison.
Oh wow!
I have a brother that's in prison right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I understand the devastation and I understand the cycles. And like I said, I talk about these things candidly in the book. And you're 100% right. My dad's out now. I talked to him before this book came out. Just we had a heart to heart, and
good.
He was super supportive and encouraging and proud that I was able to, one, get my own family in order, and then two, put together this impactful message that could potentially help other people. But we talked about that exact thing where people want to keep you. You're here. They got something over you. That's it. This is you now. So people can change and people can evolve. And I recognize that and support that 100%. But I also want to tell people, like the old saying goes, when you don't know what to do, you do what you know. So until you deconstruct the mentality that got you, why do you think people say, I'm gonna do better and then they don't? Why do you think people say, I'm gonna change and then they don't? Because you have to deconstruct the old way of thinking and replace them with new healthy habits. And this book gives you actionable steps. This is how you do that. Because if you don't, you might want to change, but you don't really have a new framework. You know what I mean? And before you know it, you do what you always done, and now you're in trouble again.
Yeah, I mean that's just basic science. That's just basic science. I mean, it's just a natural cause and effect, and I don't know why people don't get that and are so judgmental. It's like, well, he lives in the same environment, around the same people, the same thoughts, the same heart, the same. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening, and until you know all that changes. I mean, it's just it's just a repeat cycle. So, I mean, it's just what it is. So, again, I appreciate you for being here. I really do. It's a great conversation. I'm really happy for you and your book. I know it will be successful. And, the thing is that with stuff like this, it will be. I mean, to me, success comes from somebody changing their life or being able to believe, wow, I can really do this. I
100%.
really do want a good relationship with my son or my daughter. I really do want to be a better mother. I really want to, all this stuff, I mean, people, yeah. And of course, get you a couple of dollars. I have no problem talking about money. I mean, money it's okay. It's okay, and I don't know why we frown on it so or want to act like, I don't care. No, of course, we don't care about it, but we do. I mean, it makes the world go round, right? I mean, you live, you buy groceries.
Listen, families cost money. There's a finance chapter in the book.
Yes.
First generation finance. It's about breaking the cycle of poverty. That's another generational curse, right?
That mentality that I always call it low level. It's that impoverished mind. That's why I tell my kids, I'm like, it's about the mind. Money comes and goes. It really does. I mean, one minute you look up, it's like, it's there, it's not, but it's the mind, and if you believe that this is all your worth, and this is the only place that you can go on the level you can go, you will stay there, and you will, like you talked about earlier, self-sabotage because you do not believe, and we don't normalize saying it's okay to look nice or go this way, or we equate it with being bougie or something. It's like, no, I just
selling out.
Yeah, it's like, look, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do, and I think it's okay, So I don't subscribe to all of that nonsense because it's silly, but. So I do believe in remembering where you come from. I mean,
of course.
But I mean, if you moving up and doing things, why not? Because I look at it, and that's how I'm different. I look at things as I celebrate because it's like, oh, well, if they can do it, I can. I mean, that's how my mentality is. Like when my friend, if they get a new car, it's like, oh, we got a new car. That's how I look at things. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, well, she got a new car. No, we celebrate over here. I celebrate. So I think it's amazing. So again, thank you, Anthony, so much for coming on tonight.
Hold on now, because you start talking about money.
Oh.
So real quick, I just wanted to say, like I said, there's a whole chapter on finance. And one of the things that, talk about mindset, one of the things that I want people to understand is, oftentimes when you come from lack, we put it in our minds. We adapt this mentality that to have money is almost bad. To have real generational transformational money or wealth is associated with greed or evil, or you have to be taking advantage of somebody, or you have to be manipulative or whatnot. Yep. That's really just another way to validate passing down the generational curse of lack to your family.
Yep.
So what I encourage people to do when I talk, and in the finance chapter, I explain exactly how I can do it, how people can do it. One of the things I encourage people to do is understand that it's not really the money that you want. It's the freedom that you want. It's the ability to spend time with your family in the way that you see fit. It's the ability to live your life in a way that you're not a slave to hours at a job that you hate. Mm-hmm. And it's a process to establish that freedom, but it's important that we work toward it and that we build a wall around our family that provides at least a little bit of safety from the world, because the world costs. People go bankrupt every day. Medical bills, unexpected emergencies, things pop up. And I by no means try to demonize poverty. I talk about how many government grilled cheese sandwiches I ate. And I by no means try to demonize poverty. But for example, we talked about how people can donate on my website, anthonyblankenship.com. Imagine somebody right now who says, I love that idea. I want to donate $1,000, and they have that $1,000 to be able to donate.
Speak that
right?
thing. Yes.
So it's the freedom to encourage and support the things you want to support. Like, it's okay for you to learn to have money and to welcome it into your life. Now,
Yes.
imagine somebody who goes, that's fantastic. I wish I had any money to give to it, but I don't have it right now. I don't have it like that.
Yeah.
So when we accept lack in our lives, it has a ripple effect. And, you know, that mentality is oftentimes is perpetuated, and it's another one of the generational curses that we want to break, handed down to our kids.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm glad you add that, because I was going to add that part about and the freedom to be able to give.
Of course.
You know, I mean, it's like, it's so many things. I'll be like, oh, you get a car, you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I love that. I mean, I think that everybody should win. And then too, it's so hard when I see people who have hearts of gold and they struggle. Like I know some people whose lives are like, it blows my mind, because it's like it's just one bad thing after another, like just constant. I mean, if it's not medical, if it's not, you know, financial, if it's not, you know, death, or I mean, it's just like some people just really go through, and it just breaks my heart. And you know, I know that they would do better. I know what they would want to give and do things, you know. So I understand that when you say that in regards to, you know, being free to be free. I mean, that's really what it is. See, that's my whole essence of life.
Yep.
You know, anybody or anything that I feel infringes on that freedom, they cannot be in this, and that's, you talking about circles. That's how I am. I'm very closed off when it comes to that, because
you gotta be.
Yeah, you have to guard that peace and that freedom with everything, because it's just that important. So it's just that important.
It definitely is, and that's again in chapter 13, Ascension. I talk about exactly that. As you ascend and you evolve, you have to understand the importance of peace and balance in your family, and anybody that threatens that or their energy is off, you know. Hey, they gotta watch from the outside. And the thing is, as you keep growing and ascending, they then have the choice of just falling back and watching.
They usually fall off anyway.
They usually fall off. They separate themselves. Or hopefully, the best case scenario, they see you ascending and eventually they go, you know what? They use that as their own motivation to go, let me go on ahead and take off too. Yeah.
I hope so. That's what I wish for everybody.
But if they don't, that has to be on them. You can't stay where you are, because not only do our families need us evolve to our highest selves now, but their needs are growing. So the man that I am now, that's insufficient for who my daughter needs in 5 years.
Yeah.
That's insufficient for who my son needs in 10 years. Like, I have to keep growing and evolving my understanding of life too, because I haven't arrived. It's a process. Right. Yeah. So the man that I am now isn't the man that my wife's going to need in the next stage of her life. So I have to keep growing and evolving. Yeah. And anybody that is, you know, the energy is counter to that, hey, you're on the outside of the circle. Yeah.
And you know, and I used to, but I don't feel bad about that anymore. You know, it's like, hey, well, because with, and you know, this is a conversation that can go on forever. But what I will say is that I'm a very transparent person. So when you're very transparent, you say, hey, this is the train that I'm on. I'm on this train. You see it moving, right? And when you say that, right? Okay. And then they see that and they decide to either get on board or stay at the station. That's not my problem, you know? And the thing is that, you know, people teach that that's being mean. It's like, no, it's not. I'm extending growth to you, you know, and I'm not a master of everything. So, hey, you know, do it how you like, but this is what I'm doing with my life. Right. So if I extend that to you and you decide not to take that and stay at the station, then I love you and I'll see you maybe when I, you know, whatever. But at this point, I need to keep moving, and that's okay. You know, people need to normalize that and not feel this responsibility to put everybody on the train. You know, we all get our own ticket, and you know, and if I buy you a ticket and you still don't take it, then that's your problem. You know.
Yes, 1,000%.
Yeah, this is about growth. And that's the thing. And you mentioned something at the beginning of this conversation that I really want to touch on, because I always tell people this. People don't understand that growth is not this beautiful, running through the roses image that people give. And it's like, like the angels coming up and sing. It's a messy, hard, ugly,
terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Painful.
It's hard, it's ugly, but it's so necessary, and it does. I always tell the story about the caterpillar, and because it's just the truth. In their chrysalis, in their cocoon, and that journey. When they're close to death. Yep. Even when a woman giving birth, you're close to death, and then once that new birth takes place, when that butterfly comes out of that struggle, when the baby comes out, it's a beautiful thing. But you have to go through such a process, and and you do it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. And they're called growing pains for a reason. It's painful, but like I talk about in the book, the pain that comes with not growing is worse in the end.
Oh yeah.
The pain that comes from not evolving is worse in the end.
Yeah. Well, one brings death and one brings life. And that's the thing, and I refuse to be the walking dead. So it's like, I choose to live. So within this life, I have to grow, and I have to continually evolve, or I could just walk around dead. And it's a lot of people that walk around like zombies, and that's their choice, and that's okay, but not for me. So, yeah.
I call them sleepwalkers.
Yeah.
Walking with the sleeping, halfway living.
Oh yeah. And what kind of life is that? No, I'm good on that. No. Well, Anthony, thank you so much. I appreciate you for being here tonight. It was really, really good. I really encourage people to go to anthonyblankenship.com, get the book. And like you said, if they go to your website and pre-order now, and whichever one they get through your website is going to be autographed, right?
It's true.
Yeah. So get the book, support this brother, and then you say you have the ebook, you have the audio book, so they can purchase that way as well. But that's not until October 15th, correct?
That's right. But anybody listening who wants to support can go to the website right now and make a contribution in any amount they want, and they can specify who they want that book to go to, or who they want their book to go toward. If you only give a portion of a book, you can do that too, and say, I want to give it to prisoners, military families in counseling, or whatever else. Yep. And they're all listed. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, amazing. Well, I wish you the best. I wish your family the best. And again, I'm going to talk to my husband. We might make that trip. We have to go down to Texas anyway this summer, because I have a little cousin getting married. So we'll be down there. So I have a couple people in Texas. It's so big. I say it like it's, we're going to Texas, but people are all over. But
that's like four regular states.
I know. I know. Yeah. So again, thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you a great evening, Anthony.
All right. Thank you so much. Peace.
All right. Take care. Awesome. That was a really good conversation. Again, I encourage you guys to go to anthonyblankenship.com. Support his book. This is an amazing story, an amazing journey, and this is something that's necessary in life to learn. Sometimes we don't know different steps, and then sometimes I have found that even if there's things that you think seeing it through someone else's eyes and their story, their journey is also very beneficial. So, just to be able to say, you know what, I know I have my story and I know I have my way, but let's see how he did it, to get some pointers and things of that nature. So, we just need to support each other and just continue on with this, just learning. Just continually learning. This is every day. You never stop learning. You never stop growing. To me, that's successful. And I encourage you guys to support this. I'm going to get a book. I've had so many authors on here. I have so many books that I have to keep ordering to keep supporting everybody. But that's a beautiful thing, because I'd rather give $20 there than, somewhere else. So I think that's great for us to put a little bit of change in each person's pocket, because I'm a firm believer that what you put out comes back to you. So in different ways. So we all have to keep that circle going. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Again, we appreciate Anthony for being on. Go to anthonyblankenship.com and support, give to those different things. If you don't want the book, give $20, $50, $100 to be able to support somebody else in some of these different areas of life that may need it. Again, you guys have a good night and thank you for watching. Bye.